welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing?
You're sounding a little scratchy there, Rob.
I am sounding a little scratchy. I'm still fighting this whatever I have. I don't know what it is.
Not fun.
No, it's not.
No.
Not a bit,
I'm
actually.
doing all right. I'm surviving life right now.
That's good. Surviving life.
Surviving life.
Yeah, sounds like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
You know,
if only it turned out to be that easy. We'll see.
Yeah, they never are.
No,
never are. So this week I had a friend talk to me about something here, and I'm gonna give you the exact wording. But she was like, "Hey," because I was like, "I don't know what we're gonna talk about," because as always, we don't know until right before we get on a lot of the time. So she goes, "You should do one on how much is too much information." And I was like, "Context, please, context." He's like, TMI about prior relationships shared in current relationships. Ooh. And I go, ooh, and it's effects. She goes, yes, effects. How it can ripple and cause bad things, or how it can add to intimacy or actually add good things to it. And I think that I can see kind of both, because yes, if you tell somebody that you didn't get enough of that in a previous relationship, maybe that will help, in the current one, or you end up seeing if you're going to find the right person. So, oh man, this one is kind of deep because it can go so many different directions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Let's see. Where shall I start? I think, look, there's a lot of good in doing it, and I think that there's a lot of bad in doing it. Good part is, yes, you're probably going to find out a lot of things about the person that you are potentially going to be with. So I think that's a positive, right? You're going to
hear a lot about a person who was with another person and how their interaction was, but I don't know if you could be so quick to judge a person by that, because you're different with every relationship that you have. The chemistry is different. The way you guys bob and weave would be different. So,
absolutely. And I think what ends up happening is you can find yourself, after you hear a story a bunch of times, actually seeing the person that they say they're not.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely,
you've heard it so much, and you're like, oh, maybe this is who you are, or maybe this is what happened, or, I think it's a fine line of telling someone too much.
I hear women talk a lot, and there's so many things that I think is TMI, like it just goes too far. I could even give you examples. I don't know if I should, but I in talking with women, you don't share prior relationship dick size. Like, I don't think that's cool.
No.
But I've heard it so many times. I'm like, why would you say that? Like, when you're in a relationship, there should be sacred subjects that just aren't up for talking about ever again. It should be between you and that person. And you shouldn't bring that into the next person's relationship with you. Because again, you're a different person depending on who you're with. And they'll bring out certain things in you differently. That's just the way it is. But to share things that are intimate with the next person, it kind of sets the stage for, well, first of all, I know what they're going to tell the next person because they've told me. So I'm going to have a problem with that to begin with. Then there's just things that you shouldn't say, because the next person could get jealous. Why would you want to create jealousy and drama with a new relationship?
Right.
I don't know. I kind of feel like when I was younger, I probably shared more information than I should have. I think that was an age thing. I was just kind of dumb and didn't know where to gauge where I should stop. So I think that when I was younger, they probably got a lot more information out of me. Now, being older, there's just things I don't want to talk about and I don't want to bring up, and they're not who I am and they're not who I'm with anymore. So I don't feel the need to share that, and I won't. I'll be like, that's just not something I want to talk about anymore. And it won't come back up. But I think that I think that it's wrong to bring old crap into a new relationship.
Yeah, I do agree for the most part. I think that I guess if you've had certain things happen to you, like physically or mentally, there has to be some kind of hint about it or some kind of talk, because you don't want to get in too deep and then you end up saying something and triggering somebody so badly where you didn't know.
Right. I get that.
Do I want to hear like sexual sexapades with people? No, obviously not. And you're right. Penis size can be the killer of a lot of stuff. Now, here's the flip side. I will say one of the best lines I've ever heard ever was from somebody, and they said it just like this about being with somebody who had a large penis. She said this: generally, people who have large penises are connected to bigger dicks.
Mm-hmm. And I get that for sure.
And I was like, well said. And she goes, look, the reality is just that, like, it's the person regardless. So in the end, it really doesn't matter. And I was like, oh, that's good way of looking at it. But that being said, you also don't want to hear, you just don't want to hear certain things. Yes, regardless of how we all say we won't judge somebody, you can't help it. It's human nature. You find yourself going down a road or then putting things in your own head that will, also make the relationship bad.
Yeah.
So
that's why I always say you don't bring an old relationship into a new one. It's just so much better when you keep them separate.
Right. And look, it's I would say it's easy, but it's not. It's just not easy. And look, when you get to a certain age, you should probably talk about some of your past relationships, maybe not in such detail, but yes, like it would be hard to go out on a date at some point in the beginning stages and not talk about, hey, I was married, and again, maybe what I'm trying to peek into is it definitely has to be surface level things. Like, I was married, I have a child,
right.
I have
just
grandkids.
Basic information of where a person is in their life. Yeah.
Correct. Do I need to hear about, how you had sex when you were 13? Probably not. You know what I mean? Or do I need to know, certain things? Probably not. Now, should I know if there was sexual abuse somewhere in your past? Probably. Because look, if you get in too deep, you might scare someone off. So I think that there's a tipping point where if you're going to say it, it needs to be brought up, at a decent time.
Yeah.
Because like, you also don't want to start liking somebody and they can't handle what happened in your past that could come up at another time. Because maybe now you're in really deep and maybe you can't handle it.
Right.
Because there are some people who cannot handle that or don't want to handle it. Maybe that's the better way of putting it.
It's unfortunate with abuse. The person that is abused always has to deal with it. And normally a lot of the time their partners do as well. I think that goes without saying, that there's no way that you could not talk or share things that have happened like that with abuse. I think that's, you come to the table with a whole lot of problems, but if you talk about it, you explain yourself, it could be a little bit easier for the person to handle. So I think in those situations, you might want to say something, but do you really need to go into a certain depth with it? I don't think that needs to be the case. It just doesn't.
Correct.
It doesn't help anybody.
I think it just needs to be brought to the table of, look, things have happened, maybe scratch the surface and say, look, I'm currently dealing with them this way. I do therapy, whatever it is, however it is that you have dealt or are dealing with it. But you definitely, there's just a fine line, I think. Now, I'm also one that can say, like, maybe I could handle it. And I'm just saying that because I think I probably could. That doesn't mean I can. It just means that I think I can.
It doesn't mean that you want to.
That's a good point. It's just hard because, like, look, we all bring baggage. And that baggage could be lots of things. Like, I know people who have been with addicts, and that's a whole other weird, thing to deal with, where you're just like, oh, and they, on the surface of everything else, like, they were fine.
Right.
But then you find out, oh, they did this and this and this. And you're like, holy bejesus. Like, you just don't realize what that does to the human psyche. Like I said, I had a friend, that gambler, her husband was a gambler, and it was just, every paycheck, she was wondering if they were going to get half of it, none of it, or it ends up being 4 times the amount.
Wow.
Yeah. I could not imagine, and maybe that's just the single guy in me, where I was like, worried about, paying the rent and bills and eating and my son getting food, everything like that.
Right.
And that could be, that's why, because that's how I'm just built. But yeah, I couldn't imagine. And I know several people who've been with addicts, like drug addicts or alcoholics. And that's a whole other monster. But those are, I think, things that I've been asked, on dates that I've been on in the last, couple of years, how, because let's say you go and get dinner and you get a drink, people would literally ask me, like, how much do you drink? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Nobody has ever believed that I really am not a drinker. And they're like, oh, come on, I'm like, well, it's not that I haven't tried it. I've tried several things. I just don't like it. And I don't need that to be anything. But if you want to drink, go ahead. You got a designated driver. But it's funny how people like, never? Are you in AA? And I'm like, no, never needed to be. I don't drink.
Right.
So I get the flip side of that is, like, they don't believe that somebody, and I don't drink coffee either. So they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? You don't drink 2 adult beverages at all. What the hell?
Right.
But yeah.
That's pretty funny though, because like I heard that same exact thing for, well, the first 30 something years of my life, almost 40.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then obviously, like, I do drink now, and I drink coffee, and coffee's only been the last maybe 4 years.
Wow.
So yeah,
So you were like me too.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like, I totally understand.
I get, are you sure you weren't a drinker? And I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely sure. Thanks. Yeah.
It is an odd thing. I mean, now that I look at it from the outside looking in, you know what I mean? Like, for that many years to hear like, you don't drink, you don't drink. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
don't. So it is odd. But again, these are definitely things that, come up, and look, and here's the thing, if you're an alcoholic, most people who are recovering alcoholics will tell them, you know, very quickly, like, I don't think that that's too much information. I think that's something that is
Well,
probably a
no,
good
because that
thing to hear.
affects them daily. So
Correct. And it affects them
it's
on a huge
a
level.
huge level for sure.
When you're fighting some kind of demon, yes, that is definitely not the thing you want to hide.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people, if you have a problem like that, probably hide it if you're not recovering. Although I guess if
I
you
think you, yeah, you're
you meet
right.
somebody in a
But the
bar,
funny thing is they think they think they're slick and they think they're hiding it, but in reality, they're not hiding it at all.
right?
Because I've seen
And
that
look,
so many times.
I will tell you, at least from friends that I'm friends with, that have told me things about people that they ended up with. Like, if you meet somebody in a bar and they're partying, you're probably with somebody who's going to party all the time. You know what I mean? Like, or, and this goes across the board. And I'm talking about, like, it's like if you meet somebody generally at, let's say, a sports bar, they're there and they have a jersey on and they're watching football. They probably watch football every Sunday. So you can't be shocked.
Right.
It's, and I see that
Unless
a
you're
lot. Or,
oblivious and you're not paying attention to like
well,
major things that are happening.
right. And look, I'm not a huge sports fan. I love hockey and I watch hockey, and I tell people I'm probably going to watch hockey during the season. So don't be shocked. Like,
Yeah.
just let's be up, I'm pretty firm with it. And look, when people met me when I was young, not only was I a wrestler, I watched a lot of wrestling. So like, I used to have a
You
friend
did.
who came over every single Monday. And he did it from when I was like, let's see, I think my dad left. Like, I was probably 18 years old, and he did it until I was 38 or 40 every Monday. While I was married, while I had girlfriends, whatever it was just what we did every Monday. But I had
That's
warned
cool.
everybody. Girl I was dating.
Did it piss off anybody?
I don't know about piss off. They probably just thought it was weird. But and look, and when I say every Monday, I mean, did we skip? Yes, we did. But like, mostly yes. No, because like, even my girlfriend at the time, she was okay with it. My ex-wife just was like, okay, this is just what we do. And it was like once a week, and then every blue moon, like on a Sunday for a pay-per-view, I'd have like a lot of people come over, because at that time I had a black box, so we could watch all the pay-per-views for free. So
nice.
yeah, and, I was the one who had one, and it just kind of happened to be that way. So yes, I would say that, some things just happen that way, but I tried in those relationships to make sure that I said things like that, because it is odd, when you say like, hey, just so you know, my friend's been coming over for 20 years, and
right. And we're not going to stop
coming.
now.
Yeah. And it wasn't even after my son was born, he would still come over and hang out, and I would sit on the couch with a bottle.
Yeah.
Like, just, and that's just what we did. And look, at the end of the day, I think that that's, the right amount of information. Is there too much information? Yes. I'm sure that I have probably said things on dates that I probably shouldn't have, or
Everybody does.
yeah. And look, and I'm sure I've been told things that I went, oh, like, and I probably didn't do it live and in person, but I definitely put it in the bank of the ride home. It was like, oh, that was odd, or that went weird. But I mean, look, it's difficult. I think that's the biggest part of it. It's just a hard thing because you want to be honest with people, right? You want to make sure that you're not withholding information, or because I think that's the worst thing to hear. In 2 months where now you're like, you like somebody, and or you both like each other, and then someone has to drop this bomb on it. To me, that's worse. You're just like, oh, okay. And then you have to decide what it is you're going to do. Am I going to stay with this person? Do I really want to deal with that? Because it's, assuming that it's a lot. I can see where someone might just be like, yeah, that's way too much. I can't deal with that, or don't want to deal with it. And then it sucks because you have got to a point where you're like, now you like this person and you're in a rough spot of, how far do I want to go? Do I really want to do this? Do I have to deal with this every day?
Right.
It's deep, and it sucks because once you have feelings for somebody, it is difficult to just turn them off. So
I agree.
I don't know if I guess there is too much information. I can't say that there's not, because there is too much information. I don't need to know that you were, part of an orgy. Just those are things that now.
Wait, you don't want to know that?
Yeah.
Why would you not want to know that?
But here's the flip side. I guess if you're trying to meet somebody that you're in some kind of scene with, then I guess you kind of have to do that as well. I guess it just all matters to what you're looking to do and what you're looking for. I think that's with everything, right? Like you definitely want to make sure that they're compatible with you. If you're into some weird shit, you might want to say it, soon.
Yeah,
because that's even worse.
I think everybody pushes everything too quickly. So they put it out there within the first couple of dates, all these crazy shit that they've done. And then, they're like, but I'm normal and there's nothing wrong with me. And no, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, but you've talked about doing it your whole life. What makes you think it's going to stop now?
Right. That's a good point.
I think that it would not be smart to believe that. You know what I mean? If it's something that somebody's done for a long time, you have to know that that's a part of who they are. And you need to think long and hard if it's something that bothers you, if you could continue to deal with it, because chances are they're gonna keep doing whatever it is that they said they do.
Yeah. Or it's going to pop back up later on and then ruin your relationship.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, oh, I was into this the whole time. It's like, why didn't you just tell me? But again, if you would have just told me from the beginning, we probably wouldn't be in this relationship.
Right.
It's definitely a double-edged sword. You find yourself you just find yourself in some pretty wild predicaments. Like I'm just guessing, and I don't know anyone who's ever had this happen, but I'm sure that this would be one that would really just kind of derail a relationship, where if you didn't tell the person that you had a baby with somebody else, like knowingly, like let's say you're a dude and you're with somebody and you're having this great relationship, but you have a kid with another baby mama, you just don't bring it up. And then later on that comes up. I could see that being a serious derailer.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
that could be
there's
bad.
just some shit you gotta bring up. Like probably a good idea that we bring this up.
I have a friend that has a baby, but didn't know until they got something in the mail saying that they had a baby. It was from the person that they had the baby with. And for the last, I would say, 37 years.
Oh, shit.
They have not seen the kid. And current relationships don't even know that the person exists. That would be scary for me, because I would be the one worrying that every knock on the door where you don't know if somebody was coming over, every time somebody knocked, who was going to be on the other side of the door.
Yeah. Yeah. See that?
And then to not tell the current relationship that you're kind of asking for it.
Yes. Well, that's kind of how I see it. You're really just, I mean, you're just really asking for something really, really bad to happen.
But I would, if I was in the situation, I would want to know that there's somebody that could be knocking on our door. But here's the deal. If you're with somebody that you feel like you can't talk to like that, what do you do then? Like, I still say you should say something. Like, that's just a given.
Yes, I think you should say something regardless. I mean, mostly in that one, because you're talking about someone who might come into your life out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly if you know about it, you shouldn't. Like, I think hiding children would just be like the worst thing ever. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. You're just asking for major league problems. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that there's a certain amount of information that you should probably keep to yourself. Like, I think your sexual past is something that can always come back to bite you.
Yeah,
it just
it's
is
good to minimize the amount that you're going to say about that. That's just that's just smart.
Look, it's kind of like asking. It's kind of like asking the girl that you like what her number is, right?
Yeah,
like, what's
that
your number?
Be happening.
You because Chris Rock did the greatest set on that ever, because there is no right number, right? Like, you could go to the girl and you'd be like, oh, how many people have you had sex with? And she's like, 3. And you're gonna be like, 3, oh my God. Like, because there's no right number. If it's not you, the number's wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, those are things that you just shouldn't ask. And I'll give you an example. I had a list one time written down in a notebook of all the people that I had been with. And someone else found said list and started, asking me about it. And it's just like, oh yeah, there's just no right number. It's just, because we all have a past.
That's right to even say anything or even ask that. What if say for instance, you really like somebody, right? And you're like, oh, she's such a great girl and blah, blah, blah. And she's wholesome and everything. And you ask what her number is and she says 52. Do you really want to know that it's 52?
No.
I don't want to know if it's 52. I want to know, are you healthy?
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Are you healthy? Is there anything I need to know that would put me at jeopardy? I'd rather hear that than I slept with 52 girls. I don't want to hear that.
Right. Because that's what I'm telling you. There's no right number.
Yeah, but I mean, if somebody said 5, I don't think I'd blink an eye.
Well, at this age.
Yeah.
At this age, if someone said 5, I think you've done all right.
No.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I would question them telling the truth or not.
Right.
But then you might end up with somebody who got married out of high school and like literally they've only been with 2 people.
35 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yes, it could be, it's definitely deceiving.
But I don't want to hear that high of a number, to be honest with you.
I just don't ask.
I don't either.
I solved that problem.
I've also said I don't talk about that. Like, we're not going to go into that.
Right.
It's not going to benefit anybody to know what my number is or for me to know what your number is.
No, because again, it's a no-win situation. You will never win no matter what you do. Like I said, even at our age, look, at our age, if you said 5, I'd be like, wow, that's pretty good.
Liar.
Like, yeah.
Liar.
I would probably question it for sure. Unless I knew their past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I knew, like, because I know people who've been married a long ass time, like right out of high school, and they've probably really only been with 5 people and they're 50 something years old.
But their story should match on that, you know?
Right. Well, that's what I mean. And it does. And you're like, oh, like, because then I think you question your own number. Right. You're like, oh, shit. Like 5. I had that by the time I was 19. You know what I mean? You start questioning that part of yourself. I think that's why a lot of people don't want to know the number, because you question yourself. You know, you go, well, holy shit, man, this person's only been with 10 people. She's 50 years old. I've been with 38. You're like, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? Or then you start questioning, like, okay, maybe if I had one person a year, you know what I mean? Like, you start like, hey, is one person a year bad? Like, if I was married for 10, and then you start doing all kinds of weird arithmetic.
I don't even pay attention to that, to be honest. I don't even know. If somebody was to ask me right now, I'd have to really think about it. Because I don't keep.
I don't
keep a list, like you said.
Like I said, I used to, but I haven't done it in a long time. But I should probably sit down and do it again just for my own. I did have someone ask me something that was kind of funny though. That I think I talked about it on last week's podcast, that if you sleep with somebody from your past, do they get a new slot, a current slot? And I was like,
they do not get a change in number. Their number is their number. You only get one number.
You only get one number. Like if we had sex, 10 years ago, then and we have sex again now, that you still count as the same person. You
could say number 3.2. Like,
yeah, I guess so.
Your second round, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You'd have to it'd have to be to the second power, but you're definitely not getting a new slot. You don't become number, 46. You're still, 40. That's just where you're at. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But, and again, at the end of this conversation that we're about to have, I think that there is too much information that you can tell somebody.
For sure.
Because we as humans will judge you regardless. We just do our best not to or judge you the least we can in our own mind. Because if you really, 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 really like somebody, you're going to be able to take their past and make it work for you. You just are. That's just reality. You're going to look the person in the eye and go, I don't care what you did in your past. That's your past. And we can move on from it and it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Now, are they going to bring part of that past with them? Absolutely.
But if you're really going to love somebody, you have to allow that, because they're going to bring every lesson, every situation that they've been through to the table, every single one. So you have to, if you love them, you have to accept it. You may not like the fact that they slept with over 50 people, but if that's what you guys want to talk about and that's what you want to find out, you got to be ready to have the answer, or to accept the answer, because I don't think you should ask things you're not ready to hear the truth for. And you shouldn't want somebody to lie because you can't handle what they're going to say. That doesn't make sense to me.
That's absolute. If you're going to ask somebody, you have to be ready for the real answer.
But my real answer in a lot of things is I don't want to talk about that with you. That's not who I am with you.
No, here, I got a question for you, just how you said it that way. And I think that this is something. If you asked somebody and they said, I would rather not tell you, how would you take that?
I'd be like, you were a big fat hoe. That's what I would think. Like, that's just me. I'd be like, oh, you a hoe for show.
No, but in the end, here's the thing though. Like, if you're going to say that to somebody, do you think that they are going to think the exact same thing?
Absolutely. But it's still none of their business. It's still not something that I want to bring up. Like, I don't think you need to come to the table and dump all of the shit out of your purse. You know what I mean? It's like in front of somebody. You just shouldn't do that. Like, there should be a sense of there's just some things you just shouldn't share. It's just not going to make somebody a better person knowing what it is, or it's not going to make your situation any better. So why put that out there? I'd rather just say, maybe later on down the line, 10 years from now, when you're talking and they know you and they have some idea of who you are as a person, and then you say that, then who cares? They know you for who you are now, not for who you were then.
Right. I think that's kind of I think it's a hit or miss thing with people. If you're very open about most things and then you get to a question and they go, "Oh, I'd rather not talk about that." Could that be a deal breaker? Absolutely. I think
it's a deal breaker that they would want to even know that for me. I'm like, I don't, it's none of your business.
That's what I mean though. Like, I think it's a two-way street for sure.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, like, I think with some people that's a deal breaker. For me, I guess I would just be like, all right, like, I mean, unless it was something that I just had to know. Like, I think your sexual history, as in medical history, is kind of important.
Right.
Not how many people you've been with, because, man, you could have slept with 2 people and then ended up with herpes. So, like, that's just something that could happen. You know what I mean?
And they should be honest with that too.
Correct. That's kind of what I mean. Like, there's certain things that I think, like, you should just be honest with it. And look, are they going to be deal breakers? Absolutely. That's just the reality of, being in a relationship with somebody. But again, the other part, like, look, how many people you've been with are none of my business, really. Just do your best not to bring, that with you.
Yeah.
And I know that that's also something that is easier said than done. But
I think that if things come up in conversation and somebody really asks and you feel like you could trust them enough to tell them. If there's like you talked about sexual abuse, I've had to have that conversation because I was abused when I was 4 years old. So, and you know, the person that I'm thinking about that actually asked about that said to me, you know, how does that affect you with your current, you know, love life? And I had to explain, and see, now everybody's going to hear this one. So one of the things that was brought up by an ex of mine was that I did not like to have fingers inside of me. And I didn't even know. Like, I guess I tensed up. I moved to make something else happen. I did whatever I had to do to not have that done to me. Mm-hmm. Now, unbeknownst to me, I didn't even know I acted like that. And so when it was brought to my attention, I really had to think about, when did that occur, or that I didn't like something like that. And it went way back to when I was quite young and was molested. And this, I was asked about this in my 30s. So my whole existence before that, I was walking around with an issue I didn't even know I had. But once it was brought to my attention, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to think about this. I'm sorry that I, you know, pushed you away in that manner. Apparently, I know it has nothing to do with you, but I'll work on it. And then over the years, I put myself in the situation to have that happen or to have that done to me, and worked through why I was pushing away. And if you get to the point where you could work on things enough that you could heal yourself, I suggest you try it. I mean, it took me till well into my 30s, probably closer to 40, before I could handle that. But I worked on it, and I didn't want to be a victim to it. I wanted to rise above. I wanted to get through this. I wanted to have a healthy sexual relationship. And because I worked at it, I was able to fix it. Now, when people talk about abuse or ask me if I ever was, I don't come from a place where I'm a victim. And I think that that's a big deal. You have to work on not being a victim, because if you're a victim, something's always being done to you. And abuse is something that you shouldn't keep making yourself a victim of. Like, try to fix what you can. Try to get over what you can, because it's only going to help. The healthier sex relationship that you could have, the healthier your normal relationship, your everyday relationship is going to be. And now, funny thing is, now I'm thinking I don't even have to talk about this. I'll just be like, look at episode something, whatever the number is, and you could see that you'll hear that I've been abused. But I don't look at it as being a victim anymore, because you could victimize yourself by thinking that way. And I just don't want to be a victim. I didn't want to be a victim the first time, and I'm not going to continue to victimize myself. It happened when I was 4, and now I'm 54. So I would hope that people get over stuff like that. I mean, there are degrees of abuse, and I get it. But if you try to get better or get healthier, I think that's a good thing. And sharing it in a way where you're not the victim is a good way of sharing it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You so need to.
And look, at the end of this pod, TMI is a very defined line, I think. Too much information. Can it be done? Absolutely. But I also think that there can be not enough said, which I think is just as bad.
Yeah.
We all bring something to the table. Some of us bring fuck tons of luggage, and some of us bring just a suitcase. But at the end of the day, you're still bringing something with you. And whatever information you're willing to share with your either date, new mate, significant other, whatever it is, I think has to be taken with care and maybe walked on a little lightly.
Well,
But
and also too,
Mhm.
of what I didn't get to is, as your relationship progresses, you could go deeper into what you want to go into, or what you've been through, or whatever. I think that throwing it all on the table from the get-go is the worst thing that you could do. Like, let a person get to know you, get to know yourself. Like, what if you were going to have these conversations, what would you say? And what do you want people to know? You just don't want to throw everything on the table and say, look, rifle through this and deal with it. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it just doesn't work out very well.
No. I think relationships that start really quickly burn out just as fast. So, it's okay to not throw it on the table. Like, give things time. Let somebody get to know you. Get to know them. See if there's somebody that's worthy of listening to that story, because not everybody is.
Yeah, some people aren't ready for that.
It's true.
Some people you can easily finish a relationship by saying the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a very fine line on what you're going to do, how you're going to say it, when you're going to say it. And I think that that's all a voluntary thing. Like, I think for me, just knowing that if you hide something too long, it can be detrimental. And if you say something too soon, it can be detrimental. There is a sweet spot. But and hopefully you'll know when that sweet spot is.
Yeah. The opportunity will present itself, and it'll present itself in a healthy way. And that's, I think, when you should be talking.
Right. I agree. I think that most of us know when that time is there. And look, it's a feeling. I mean, I think everything like that is a feeling. When it's like saying I love you. Too soon, oh, kiss of death. Too late, kiss of death. There's a sweet spot in there somewhere.
Yeah, there is, definitely. And it's different with every relationship too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's like one of the most important things you can ever say to somebody. And, so yeah, you can definitely say it too soon. I've been there. Where shouldn't have said that.
Where you could say it too late even.
Yeah, me too. I've been in both. I've been in both. Where, too soon they're like, whoa. And then too late they're like, It's like,
should have did it when you could have. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah, that's exactly it. You should have did it when you could have, So any last words?
There's so many things I could say.
And say them, drop them.
Think about what you're saying, especially when the relationship is new. Like, you want to put your best face out there, but you also want to be authentic. And think about what you're saying before you say it, and ask yourself, has this person worthy of hearing what I have to say? And start with that. Like, make sure that they're worthy, because you don't want to be put in a situation where you're going to be judged wrongly, or it's something that they would use against you. You don't want that either. So I don't think that you should hide everything, but I think there's a time and a place.
I'll go with that.
Choose wisely.
My thing is this. I think everything you just said is absolutely right. The bigger thing for me is just be you.
Yeah.
If you're you won't have to worry about almost any of that. Too many people wear masks.
Yeah.
So if you're not wearing a mask and you are who you say you are, they're either going to like you or hate you for it, and everyone else will be thinned out after that. So
I agree.
it's kind of a good way. You can check us out on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever we're calling them. And you can check us out anywhere you listen to these there podcasts, Spotify, Apple. You can check us out on pretty much anything else that you can listen to these things on. And yeah, it's an opinion show. Don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday. For Tina, I'm Rob. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
See ya.